Uranda speaking. In our meditations over the weekend, there was a very definite movement forward and in order to let that forward movement be sustained, I feel this morning that we should touch upon a point in Revelation before we return to a consideration of the outworking through Abraham. I'll read the two verses with which we concluded our meditation last evening. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, "Now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb, and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth he hath but a short time." That 12th verse was not read at the conclusion last evening. That's the one I want to bring to your attention now. This is the 12th chapter of Revelation, if any of you have not yet located it. But you remember that this is the expression of a loud voice saying something in heaven. And we remember that heaven is not far away, but is at hand. And it is after the dragon is cast out of heaven. Now you recognize that insofar as your heaven is concerned, in the individual sense, the great red dragon has access to your heaven and functions at least to some degree in your heaven until he is cast out of your heaven. The heaven within you is not forbidden territory, shall we say, to the great red dragon until you make a pattern of response, come to a point of centering which allows your heaven to be a part of the kingdom of God on earth. Your heaven, your vibrational atmosphere within you is supposed to be, in the divine sense, a place where only heavenly things can be found. But the heaven that is within you is not such a place until you come to the point of letting these cycles of the resurrection work out in and through you. Heaven is within you all the time. But your heaven is not a clear place, free of the influence of the great red dragon, until you reach this point in the resurrection. And it is something that is determined by you, not by someone else. And once you begin to realize your personal responsibility in it and recognize that it is something that can come in your life at any time you're willing to let it come, the heaven within you can begin to be that which God intends for it to be. Man has in time past turned to that heaven within himself, seeking God, and touching that heaven has found not God, but the great red dragon. And so he has assumed that it is impossible to know the reality of the heaven within. But that heaven is not clear. It is not received as a part of God's heaven until the great red dragon is cast out of it. And when he is cast out into the earth. Into the earth. Now, that does not mean that at this point in the outworking you are no longer in position to hear or feel or sense the influence or the working of the great red dragon. It simply means that he has been cleared out of that realm of heaven and that he has been cast into the earth. Now, if you are an inhabitor of heaven, a citizen, a dweller in heaven on earth, you are all right. But if you are an inhabitor of the earth, or if you yourself, by wrong function, by breaking the pattern of polarity, leave your own heaven and come into the earth in the outer sense, then you are, for that period of time, whatever it may be, an inhabitor of the earth. Now, as long as you are dwelling in heaven, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. As long as you're dwelling in heaven, you're all right. But woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. At this particular point, then, in the process of resurrection, the great red dragon is still in existence. He's merely been cast out of your heaven. And as long as you dwell in your heaven on earth, you are safe. But if wrong reaction drives you out of your heaven into your earth, then woe unto you. Woe unto the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. That is, the centering in relationship to the physical, material realm and the mind or knowledge, concepts of which the mind may be aware. The sea is here symbolical of the truth or knowledge of which man is aware in an outer sense. So if you are a dweller in the earth and in the sea, the outer physical aspects of being, without regard to the heaven within you, then when the dragon is cast out of heaven, you, as an inhabitor of the earth and of the sea, are subject to an intensification of his wrath. Now, in the process of casting out, there comes the realization that now is salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. All of these things made manifest in your heaven, and yet to be made manifest through the physical aspects of your being in your living of life. Therefore, as you remain as one who dwells in heaven, you are safe. But woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. This pattern of wrath, as the cycle works out through individuals and out into the world, will become more and more evident, more and more intense, At the moment, it is comparatively mild, limited more or less to individuals, particularly to individuals here, and the pattern of outworking is very mild. But as the casting out process continues, as you hold steady and learn to dwell in your heavens individually, the pattern becomes intensified, and as the cycle moves out into the world, it becomes more and more intense, with the great red dragon being more and more filled with wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time, until that final outworking that is pictured when those who are the angels of the dragon undertake to surround the camp of the saints, and in that intensification of the conflict, the dragon and all of his angels, all of his followers, are cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, which burneth forever and ever. Now we know that fire is the fire of God's love, and it is that fire which purifies. It is that fire which burns away that which ought not to be. We cannot do anything about the function. Well, perhaps that's an extreme statement in the sense of bringing the dragon to an end and his function on earth. We cannot do anything about it until every individual on the face of the earth has had his or her opportunity to choose one side or the other. That opportunity has not yet been made manifest. And the great red dragon is going to be more or less at liberty in the world, in the earth and in the sea, until that time comes. Meanwhile, those who respond and understand the way, the truth, and the life are supposed to be living in their heavens on earth. And then, after the pattern of clearing has been completed over the whole earth, and once the great red dragon has induced his followers, his angels, who are human beings, of course, to undertake to annihilate the saints, that is, those who are functioning according to the pattern of reality, to use a little different language to portray the same thing. Once the dragon has induced them to make this attempt to fight against God and against those who are serving God, the devil's own action brings his own reward. The fire of God's love is there. Fighting against it, the dragon and the false prophet we will be considering as we continue this pattern, but of course it represents the mind in a specific sense, with the beast as the physical aspect, the beast and the false prophet. In any case, we have the ultimate goal with respect to the great red dragon, not to fight him now, not to try to destroy him now, but to live in heaven on earth so that he cannot disturb us now. And let the pattern work out until every man, woman, and child on the face of the earth has had his or her opportunity. And then, when the dragon attempts to fight against God, in an overall pattern where the choices have all been established, the fire of God's love will complete the task and cast this pattern of self-activity out of the earth. It will be burned up or gone, be finished. Such a state of affairs is necessary to the ultimate outworking, so that by reason of the restoration we can get back on the job and begin to do the work which we are supposed to be doing. This interval, working out the restoration, is simply a process of repairing the machinery. It's not the end and aim of our goal and our program. The machinery of reality broke down on earth. It's been at a standstill. Many efforts have been made to repair that machinery, and they've all failed up to the present time. We are engaged as servants of our King, or master mechanics, to repair the machinery of reality. And you're here sharing training and preparation for your work in that regard. So, the time is coming when the machinery will be back in operation and we can get on with our job as divine men and women. Meanwhile, it's necessary for us to get the machinery to working. And that is our immediate purpose. So, do not let the great red dragon trick you. Having reached the point of feeling the joy, the lightness, the beauty, and the wonder of having the red dragon cast out of your heaven, do not let him trick you into coming out of it yourself and having a contest with him or playing games with him again, or you'll spoil it all. Remember to dwell in your heavens and rejoice, and let the cycles work out. And in season, as we serve correctly, the great red dragon shall cease to be. With respect to those who are the inhabitants of the earth and the sea, woe unto you, whether here or somewhere else. I wonder if it might be wise this morning, seeing that I'll be absent from you in person for a few days, to take the rest of this period for the clearing of 2 or 3 points. It should be very helpful for you, and then we'll later on get back to the history of the children of Israel. You'll remember in the passage that I read last evening, these words, "And when the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child." The man-child is the positive expression of the Christ life through you. "And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time, and times, and half a time, from the face of the serpent." A time, that would be 1, wouldn't it? Times, plural, the initial plural is what? 2. 2, and half a time, in other words, 3 and 1/2. A time, times, and half a time signify 3 and 1/2. Halfway through the cycle, our Master's ministry continued on earth for 3.5 years on exactly the same basis, revealing the same principle. And the first half of the cycle, the protection is provided for the woman in the wilderness from the face of the serpent. Now, that which follows after is another or different phase, the succeeding part of the cycle. We're not ready for that yet. So, she is nourished from the face of the serpent for a time, times, and half a time. That is 3.5 units of time. 1/2 of this particularized cycle essential to this process of resurrection. Now, the full significance of that will come later. First, however, we notice that when the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child. Merely because you have let the dragon be cast out of your heaven, there is no statement to suggest that he won't be persecuting you or trying to upset you, disturb you, break the pattern, cause you to respond in the wrong direction. And it is in this period that we must be especially careful to maintain correct centering. And as you remain centered, something happens. As you hold centered in the pattern as a member of the body of the woman, and to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the face of the serpent. Now, the important thing here is that to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle. Now, we need to go back a little and consider we need to go back to the 4th chapter of Revelation to consider some of the basic factors with respect to this machinery of reality, so that you can begin to see the significance of the 2 wings of the great eagle. In the 4th chapter here, we read, "After this I looked, and behold, a door was opened in heaven." It is because of the fact that that door was opened in heaven that you are here. And the first voice which I heard was as it were a trumpet talking with me, which said, "Come up hither, and I will show thee things which must be hereafter." Now, that invitation has been extended to you. And according to your response, and immediately I was in the Spirit, and behold, a throne was set in heaven, and heaven is at hand on earth, and one sat on the throne, and he that sat was to look upon like a jasper and a sardine stone, and there was a rainbow around about the throne in sight like unto an emerald. And round about the throne were 24 seats, and upon the seats I saw 24 elders sitting, clothed in white raiment, and they had on their heads crowns of gold. And gold is the symbol of God's love, the purity of God's love. And out of the throne proceeded lightnings and thunderings and voices, and there were 7 lamps of fire burning before the throne, which are the 7 spirits of God. At another time we will consider more the significance of the 7 spirits of God. And before the throne there was a sea of glass like unto crystal, and in the midst of the throne and round about the throne were the 4 beasts, or 4 living creatures, full of eyes before four beasts full of eyes before and behind. And the first beast was like a lion, and the second beast was like a calf, and the third beast had a face as a man, and the fourth beast was like a flying eagle. Now you remember that the woman was given two wings of an eagle. And here we have the specific recognition of the four beasts, or the four living creatures. It's not exactly a square, is it? And the first beast was like a lion. As we consider the pattern of the divine outworking, we recognize that the lion is the symbol of our Lord and King. We remember, for instance, with respect to the seven-sealed book, and I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice the question, "Who is worthy to open the book and to loose the seals thereof?" And no man in heaven nor in earth, neither under the earth, was able to open the book, neither to look thereon. Human beings have been trying for 20,000 years to do it, and they did not, in their self-active attempts, succeed. And I wept much, because no man was found worthy to open and to read the book, neither to look thereon. And one of the elders saith unto me, Weep not, weep not. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, hath prevailed to open the book and to loose the seven seals thereof. Now that's the pattern of ministry, activity, fulfillment that the Master came into the world to accomplish. When he said, I have finished the work which thou gavest me to do, he signified that he had opened the seven-sealed book, which we will consider more at another time. But I wish to establish for you in consciousness the fact that the Lion is and was and shall be the one who we speak of as the Lord of Lords, the one who incarnated on earth in the body of Jesus. And we remember that the second beast had the face as a calf. Now we go back to the pattern with respect to the children of Israel. We find that the calf has a very significant meaning. The ox is the symbol of the self-active mind of man, which was sacrificed in the ceremonies of the temple or the sanctuary, the tabernacle. The ox represented the self-active mind of man. And what a wonderful symbol that is. Did you ever watch an ox? How dull and uncomprehending and slow-witted the creature is. When man eats of the forbidden fruit and attempts to function on his own, he is, as far as his consciousness is concerned, like an ox. Oh, he might get angry and do some fighting. A good many times as a boy in the western part of the state, when that country was all open cattle range, I saw great bullfights. Not the Spanish variety, but two bulls getting into a fight. See who should be the boss of the range. And some of them were pretty terrible affairs. I remember standing one time very short distance from two of these bulls fighting, and they would back off from each other perhaps the length of this room apart, and then start toward each other with all the power that they could develop and come in head on. Their heads would pop like thunder. So they can fight, an ox can fight, and sooner or later one of them would either get hurt or decide he'd had enough and let the other one be boss. But in any case, there is fight in the creatures, but if you'll watch the ox or consider the ox, you will find that in all aspects it's a remarkable symbol of the self-active mind of man, the condition into which the human consciousness degenerates when the human being eats of the forbidden fruit. And so the ox is a symbol of the mind of man in the self-active state that had to be sacrificed. We remember, too, the Master's word, except ye come as a little child. Except ye come as a little child, ye shall not enter the kingdom of heaven. And the calf. The calf, then, relates to the mental plane exactly the same as the ox. But the calf signifies the pattern before it has become self-active. Before it has been doped by the forbidden fruit, before it has reached a state where it cannot know the way, the truth, and the life. So, the calf symbolizes the mind of man becoming youthful or childlike, willing to be subject to the Spirit of God, willing to be directed by the power of God, to the end that you may have in you the mind that was in Christ Jesus. And then the third had a face as a man. Very peculiar thing, that. A creature with a face as a man. And that was supposed to be the point of manifestation. Man, manifestation. Man is supposed to be the means of manifestation for the things of God on earth. And here we have the point of focalization where man is supposed to be. This is the point where the woman is formed. This is the point where the pattern of outworking on earth begins to appear. It is in relationship to this particular point that you are here learning to serve, to function according to the divine plan. So, your place in this pattern of the four living creatures, or the four bases, which are full of eyes before and behind, is in relationship to man, the means of manifestation for the things of God on earth, man and woman. But this point is supposed to be negative, responsive to the point of the lion. So, in the process of the restoration, inasmuch as it was Eve, woman, that led the way of the fall, that is, the negative aspect became positive to the positive aspect of being, we have exactly the reverse. It must be through woman that the restoration takes place. And we have been considering the nature of this woman and the pattern of her being. She is supposed to be clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars. And the 12 stars are the positive and negative aspects of the 24 elders, which we have touched upon this morning. And then the fourth living creature was like a flying eagle. And the first beast was like a lion, and the second beast was like a calf, and the third beast had a face as a man, and the fourth beast was like a flying eagle. Now, there is more there, but for the moment, let us consider. It is by reason of the two wings of the eagle that the woman is provided with the ability to move into her place appointed in the wilderness and be nourished for a time, times, and half a time. And until you begin to recognize the significance of this pattern, you won't comprehend it all in a moment. You cannot have a clear vision with respect to the divine design. Now, it is not by chance that the eagle is a symbol of the sovereignty of the United States of America. And we thank God for the privilege of having this nation on earth, which has been the means by which God has been able to shape the pattern of outworking for the whole world to a considerable degree. It was through the cooperation of other nations, of course, and the patterns, the ideals, and the determinations was not just the United States, but we have to recognize that the eagle is the symbol of the sovereignty of the United States of America. And it is not by chance that that is so. However, that is not the limit of the significance of the eagle in relationship to this outline of the four beasts. For it is with respect to these four beasts that we have the specific manifestation of the four forces on earth in the outworking of the pattern of restoration. And the fact that the eagle is a symbol of the United States simply proves, for those who have eyes to see, that the reality of the divine design has been at work in shaping the conditions in the world to the end that we could have the privilege of this hour, this class period together. We wouldn't want to have to undertake to work out such a pattern of study, for instance, in Red Russia, would we? No. What a blessing God has provided us in the privilege of a place on earth where we can consider the things of God. And the divine pattern has been working to the end that it should be so. As we recognize the working of God's laws, the reality of the divine design, we come more and more to know that those things that are made manifest to the blessing of the children of men did not appear by chance or happenstance. It was by specific workings of God's laws and principles. And yet, When one begins to awaken to the pattern of divine activity, one cannot be expected to see it all at once. The vision increases step by step, and gradually you come to know the truth of the matter, the truth that makes you free. Continuing a little here in the 5th chapter as it relates to the seven-sealed book, we find in the 6th verse these words, "And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne, and of the 4 beasts, and in the midst of the elders, having 7 horns, and in the midst of the elders stood a lamb, as it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent forth into all the earth. And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne, and of the 4 beasts, and in the midst of the elders." The location of the elders follows out from this basic pattern. "Stood a lamb, as it had been slain." Not that it was slain, you'll please notice, but it had the appearance of having been slain. "Having 7 horns and 7 eyes." Now the lamb doesn't have 7 heads, like the great red dragon, but it does have 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent forth into all the earth. Now we'd like to notice something. In the midst of the throne. Now the throne is the material form which sustains or provides a place of being for the king. We mustn't confuse the throne with the king. And we recognize that this pattern of divine design is, in actual fact, the initial or basic outline of the design of the throne. And the throne must not be confused with the one who sits upon the throne. The Lord of Lords and King of Kings is the one who sits upon the throne. And here we see that the Lamb was not on the throne, it was in the midst of the throne. Not on the throne. Specifically, I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne, and of the 4 beasts. Now here's the outline of the 4 beasts. Here's the basic outline of the throne. And the Lamb is in the midst of the throne itself, not upon it. That's one of the first clear indications of the fact that the lion and the lamb are not the same thing. In fact, we go back to the Old Testament revelation and we recognize the statement that the lion and the lamb shall feed together. But who suggests that the lion and the lamb are the same thing? No one with any intelligence or recognition or perception. So, though the lion and the lamb shall feed together, they are not the same thing. And in the midst of the throne and of the 4 beasts, there is the Lamb. As stood a lamb as it had been slain. That is, as if it had been. It was not. Having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits before the throne of God. Now the outer manifestation or symbol The outer specific form is here the eagle. We recognize that insofar as the outer trinity is concerned, and this line that divides the upper part of our diagram from the lower part signifies the sea of glass, which has already been mentioned here. The dividing line, the veil between heaven and earth, as far as human beings are concerned. But this design includes heaven and earth. But insofar as the outer is concerned, there is a trinity. And that trinity has what, as far as you are concerned? A spiritual expression, a mind, and a body. The spiritual expression plane of being, the mental plane of being, and the physical or body plane of being. And there you have in the throne of God, or the throne that is set in heaven, the throne of our Lord and King, the basic design revealing the fundamental facts of the Trinity. Now we come to recognize ultimately that the inner Trinity is likewise revealed here with respect to these 3 points. And 2 of the points specifically relate to both the inner and the outer Trinity. It's the same thing. But in the outer manifestation, here we recognize at this point the spiritual expression plane, the flying eagle. Now we are here as a part of the function of the third sacred school. You have recognized that we make the third plane approach. We recognize that in the first sacred school, the approach was from the standpoint of this point in the triangle. At the time of the Master's coming, the approach was from the standpoint of this point in the triangle, the cat. And now we are engaged in an undertaking which is the last one available to man, of making the spiritual expression approach to the outworking of the divine design. And there has been a great deal of preparation in relationship to this which you share in its initial cycles of manifestation. Centuries of careful preparation. Now the halfway point, the middle point between the outer manifestation of form, man, and the inner manifestation of our king, the lion, is established here. In the midst of the throne and of the 4 beasts. And where is the middle point? It's at the point of the eagle. And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne and of the 4 beasts, and in the midst of the elders, stood a lamb, as it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent forth into all the earth. Now there is a great deal here in the book of Revelation dealing specifically with the Lamb. We can't take time to consider them very extensively at the moment. But immediately after the 7 beasts, or 7 creatures, 7 personages, as we have been considering them in the first part, have been outlined, we have the result of the process of the resurrection pictured here. In the 14th chapter of Revelation, "And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his Father's name written in their foreheads. And I heard a voice from heaven, as the voice of many waters, and as the voice of a great thunder. And I heard the voice of harpers harping with their harps. And they sung as it were a new song. And before the 4 beasts and the elders, and no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth." The initial form, then, of the man or the woman, the body through which the power of God was to manifest, contains 144,000 human beings. And the manifestation of this form of the 144,000, which doesn't mean that the rest of humanity can't be drawn into the pattern, simply means that when there are 144,000, we have a working model. Our machinery begins to go to work regardless of the rest of mankind. And here is the picture of the 144,000, and the Lamb stood on Mount Zion. We could go through the whole book here and see reference after reference outlining the basic factors, until finally we recognize that the bride, the woman, the body of humanity responding properly, becomes the bride of the Lamb. And the pattern of outworking on earth is brought into perfect polarity with the Lord of Lords, and the union of heaven and earth is reestablished in the manifestation of what is called the new earth, the new heaven and the new earth. And it is in connection with this that there is the manifestation of the New Jerusalem, etc. Now, we cannot possibly comprehend all the details that are involved in this wonderful blueprint, the divine design. But remember that this was established in relationship to the processes of the restoration after that which the Master did had been caused to break down and fail in its fundamental purpose because of man's failure to follow through and let the divine design have meaning. Here we have the basic principles involved with respect to all that is portrayed in the entire Bible, and with respect to that which we are sharing in life and ministry on earth at the present time. Here you begin to see the purpose for which I came into the world, and you begin to see the reason why you are here. For it is not by chance that my initials and my title stand as the Lamb. And it is not by chance that I have come into the world in relationship to the fulfillment of these things. It is not by chance that you are here. It is not by chance that we have a divine goal. a divine purpose. It is not by chance that I can unveil to you the meaning of the book of Revelation, and that there's no one else on the face of the earth that can. I wrote it in the first place, and it was so written that no one else could interpret it. It wasn't intended to be interpreted by anyone else. I don't care who studied, how long, how much, no one else could do it. It had to wait until I should come. And so in the cycles of outworking, we have a part, a share in this divine design. And we begin to see how it is as it is written here. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, "Now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. And when the dragon saw that he was cast out unto the earth, he persecuted the woman which had brought forth the man-child. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time, and times and half a time, from the face of the serpent."